12 publishers rejected Harry Potter. 12. That means 12 different people looked at the book that would go on to define an entire generation and said, "Nah, this won't sell." Imagine if J.K. Rowling had believed them. Imagine if she had thought, "Maybe I'm just not good enough," and walked away. There would be no Hogwarts, no Voldemort, no midnight book releases. Just another story that never saw the light of day. And, apparently, she almost did quit. She was broke, depressed, a single mom living on welfare, writing in cafes because heating her apartment was too expensive. Every sign in her life was telling her to stop. And yet, she didn't. What makes someone push through that kind of failure and adversity of life? And more importantly, how can you and I do the same? Because the difference between success and giving up isn't luck. It's something much deeper. Stick around, because J.K. Rowling's story isn't just inspiring. It might just change how you see your own struggles in life. J.K. Rowling wasn't just struggling, she had lost everything. The idea for Harry Potter came to her on a train from Manchester to London. She only brought herself and her thoughts on that trip. She wanted to write it down immediately, but she couldn't, because she was too broke to afford a pen. And that was just the beginning. Shortly after, her mother, her biggest supporter, passed away. She never got to tell her about Harry Potter. The grief broke her. She then moved to Portugal, hoping for a fresh start, but instead she walked into a toxic, abusive marriage that left her with a newborn baby. When the marriage ended, she fled to Scotland with her infant daughter, carrying nothing but a suitcase filled with clothes and half-written pages of a story no one believed in yet. At 30 years old, she was divorced, jobless, clinically depressed, and living in a tiny, freezing apartment. Welfare checks barely covered food. She had to choose between eating or keeping the heating on. Most nights, she chose the cold. She had given up on herself. She was so deep in depression that she started having suicidal thoughts. She believed she had failed at everything. Society had already written her off as another struggling single mom who would never make it out. But there was one thing that kept her going. Every night, after putting her baby to sleep, she would walk to a nearby cafe, order the cheapest coffee she could find, and write. Not because she thought it would make her rich, not because she expected anyone to read it, but because writing was the only thing she had left. She poured her grief, her loneliness, her desperation into the story of a boy who had lost everything but still found his way. At that point, Harry Potter wasn't just a book. It was her lifeline. J.K. Rowling had spent 6 years writing Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. 6 years of scribbling in cafes, reworking chapters, and fighting the voice in her head that told her she was wasting her time. 6 years of pushing through exhaustion while raising her daughter alone. 6 years of writing with no guarantee that anyone would ever read a single word. But finishing the book was just step one. Now came the soul-crushing part, getting someone to believe in it. She carefully typed out her manuscript, printed the pages, and sent them off to literary agents and publishers. And then, radio silence. Weeks passed, then months, then rejection letters started rolling in. Publisher after publisher turned her down. Some simply said it wasn't marketable. Others didn't even bother reading it. One of them suggested she get a day job because there was no money in children's books. At this point, it wasn't just rejection, it was humiliation. 12 different publishing houses, all no's. Think about that. 12 separate people, experts in their field, looked at Harry Potter and said, "No one will care about this." Most people would have given up. Most people do give up, but she didn't. She sent it out again. And then, on the 13th try, she got a different response. A small publishing house called Bloomsbury decided to give her book a chance, but even they weren't completely sold. Her manuscript landed on the desk of an editor named Barry Cunningham, who didn't think the book would be very profitable. Then something unexpected happened. He took the first chapter home, and his 8-year-old daughter picked it up. She started reading. She didn't stop. She begged her dad for more. And just like that, Harry Potter had its first real fan. That little girl's excitement convinced Cunningham to take the risk. He offered Rowling a publishing deal, but even then, it wasn't some life-changing contract. Her first advance was just £1,500, barely enough to pay rent. Bloomsbury even warned her to keep her day job because, in their words, there was no money in children's books. But J.K. Rowling didn't care. For the first time in years, someone believed in her story. And then, the real breakthrough came because a few months later, Scholastic brought Harry Potter to life. They saw something others didn't. At an auction for the U.S. publishing rights, Scholastic paid $105,000, an unheard of amount for a children's book from a first-time author. That was the moment everything changed. All of a sudden, Harry Potter wasn't just a book anymore. It became a worldwide movement. Bookstores around the world couldn't keep it in stock. Kids were lining up to buy it. Teachers were assigning it in classrooms. The series spread like wildfire. And within just a few years, J.K. Rowling went from being a single mother who had to choose between food or heating to becoming the first author in history to reach billionaire status. But here's the part no one talks about. She wasn't lucky. She had no industry connections. She had no money. She had no backup plan. Every logical reason pointed to quitting, not only on writing, but also on life. But she kept going. She believed in her story when no one else did. And that made all the difference. J.K. Rowling's story isn't just inspiring, it's a blueprint for pushing through failure and turning rock bottom into a launching pad. She didn't just make it by accident. There were key factors in her journey that made the difference between her becoming a success story and just another person who gave up too soon. So let's break it all down. What exactly can we take from her journey and apply to our own lives? So, 12 publishers rejected Harry Potter. 12 different experts looked at a book that would define an entire generation and basically said, nah, this ain't it. Imagine being those people. Imagine being the publishers who passed on the biggest literary phenomenon of our time just because you thought kids wouldn't be into wizards. That's like turning down Apple stock in the 90s. Because computers are just a fad. Rejections like those are not the end. It's a filter. It's the universe basically asking, how bad do you actually want this? Because if you fold the second someone tells you no, you probably didn't want it bad enough in the first place. J.K. Rowling didn't let those rejections define her. If she did, Harry Potter would still be sitting in a dusty drawer somewhere, and we'd all be living in a world where Expelliarmus means absolutely nothing. But she kept going. She didn't think, wow, maybe I suck. She thought, all right, you don't see the vision? On to the next one. And this isn't just her. Stephen King's Carrie got rejected 30 times before someone finally took a chance on it. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for TV. Michael Jordan didn't make his high school basketball team. Do you see the pattern here? The people who succeed aren't the ones who never get rejected. They're the ones who refuse to let rejection stop them. Look, if you're chasing something big, you're going to hear a lot of no's. A lot of people telling you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, or you're not talented enough. And most of the times, it's gonna sting. But rejection isn't proof that you're failing. It's proof that you're trying. And the only way you actually fail is if you stop. So, whatever you're working on right now, expect rejection. Embrace it. Because one day, the same people who doubted you are gonna act like they always believed in you. And trust me, nothing tastes sweeter than proving people wrong. Most people don't fail because they're not talented. They fail because they quit way too soon. They expect success to be like instant noodles. Just add hot water, and boom, you're thriving. But real success? It's more like slow-cooked brisket. It takes time, patience, and probably some tears along the way. J.K. Rowling spent 7 years writing Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. 7 freaking years. That's the time you took to get through high school and a whole existential crisis. And during that time, she wasn't even living her best life. She was broke, struggling with depression, raising her kid alone, and writing in coffee shops because heating her apartment was too expensive. She could have quit 100 times. She could have said, you know what? Maybe I should just get a normal job and stop chasing this impossible dream. And honestly, no one would have blamed her. But here's the difference between people who make it and people who don't. She kept going. She understood something that most people never do. Success isn't about talent alone. It's about stamina. The ability to keep pushing when nothing is working. The patience to stick it out when it feels like you're getting nowhere. Most people give up right before things get good. like closing a book just before the plot twist. And she's not the only one. Jeff Bezos spent years getting laughed at for trying to sell books online. Steve Jobs got kicked out of his own company before coming back to turn Apple into a trillion-dollar empire. Even Mr. Beast spent years making YouTube videos that barely got any views before he figured out what worked. The world didn't just hand them success. They stuck it out long enough to earn it. Look, I get it. It's hard to keep going when you don't see results. It's frustrating to work your ass off and feel like you're just shouting into the void. But what if you're just 1 year, 1 month, or even 1 week away from your breakthrough? What if after all this time, all you have to do is not quit? So, yeah, success takes time. It takes patience when you yourself have no idea if it's going to work out or not. But most people never find out how close they were, because they gave up before they got there. J.K. Rowling hit rock bottom so hard, she probably left a dent. No money, no job, single mom, dealing with depression. She wasn't just struggling, she wasn't just depressed, she was drowning. And you know what she called that period of her life? The foundation on which she rebuilt herself. That's wild, right? Most people would see rock bottom as the end. The moment where you throw your hands up and say, "Welp, that's it. At least I peaked in middle school." But for her, it was the exact opposite. She had nothing left to lose, so she went all in. Writing wasn't just a hobby anymore, it was survival. And sometimes that's when people do their best work, when the world has backed them into a corner, and the only way out is forward. Think about it. Some of the most successful people you know hit their lowest point right before their breakthrough. Robert Downey Jr. went from being blacklisted in Hollywood to becoming Iron Man and making Marvel billions. Tyler Perry was homeless before he became a media mogul. They all had one thing in common. They didn't let their lowest moment define them. They used it as a springboard. And yeah, I know when you're in that place, it doesn't feel like a foundation. It feels like life is straight up bullying you. Turns out, hitting rock bottom strips away everything that doesn't matter. No more pretending. No more distractions. Just you, your resilience, and whatever dream is keeping you from completely tapping out. So if you're going through it right now, if you feel like everything is falling apart, ask yourself this. What if this isn't the end? What if this is just the part of the story where things get interesting? Because the only real difference between a breakdown and a breakthrough is what you do next. J.K. Rowling didn't have cheerleaders hyping her up. No one was waiting for Harry Potter with open arms. 12 publishers literally told her, "This ain't it." Imagine that. Imagine pouring your soul into something, thinking, "This could change my life," only for a bunch of industry gatekeepers to hit you with the verbal equivalent of a door slamming in your face. Most people would take the hint and move on. She didn't. Because she understood something most people don't. If you don't bet on yourself, why would anyone else? The truth is, no one is going to hand you permission to succeed. There's no neon sign that flashes, "This is your moment," while the universe rolls out a red carpet. J.K. Rowling was sitting in coffee shops, broke, rejected, and completely unknown. But she still kept writing like the world was waiting for her book. That's the energy. That's the mindset. You show up, you do the work, and you act like your dream is inevitable, even when no one else can see it yet. The lesson here? You don't need approval. You don't need validation. I know as a Gen Z, we're thirsty of it, but you just need to back yourself so relentlessly that the world has to take notice. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't come from waiting for the right moment. It comes from deciding that this is your moment, even when no one else believes it yet. J.K. Rowling didn't need everyone to say yes. She just needed one person to see what 12 others couldn't, and that's exactly what happened. After a dozen rejections, Bloomsbury finally took a chance on Harry Potter. But the thing is that one yes didn't just magically appear out of nowhere. She had to earn it. Most people don't realize this, but success isn't about luck. It's about staying in the game long enough for the odds to turn in your favor. Every no she got was just another step toward the one yes that mattered. If she had stopped at the 5th rejection, or the 10th, or even the 11th, we wouldn't be here talking about her right now. Hogwarts wouldn't exist. Your childhood would have been Dementor-level depressing. And this pattern is everywhere. Steven Spielberg got rejected from film school 3 times before becoming, well, Steven freaking Spielberg. Colonel Sanders heard no over 1,000 times before someone finally said, "Sure, we'll try your fried chicken." Even The Weeknd, he uploaded his music to YouTube for free because no record label would sign him. And now, he's headlining stadiums. The difference between people who make it and people who don't isn't talent, intelligence, or even connections. It's persistence. It's having the audacity to keep knocking on doors until one of them finally opens. And if you want that, yes, you have to be so good they can't ignore you. Rowling kept writing. Spielberg kept making films. The Weeknd kept dropping music. You don't wait for opportunities. You build something so undeniable that when the right person finally sees it, they have no choice but to say, "This is it." So, the next time life keeps handing you L's, remember this: you're not failing. You're just one no closer to the yes that's going to change everything. And here's something no one's going to tell you. Your greatest moments of failure are just the universe's way of preparing you for your big break. And I mean preparing you. Like those rejections, the self-doubt, the late nights when you feel like you're invisible, it's all part of your training montage. You know, like the part in a movie when the hero's down and everyone thinks they're finished, but they come back stronger, faster, and unstoppable. That's you. The world doesn't owe you success, but it does owe you the chance to earn it. And guess what? Every no is just a lesson. Every mistake is a stepping stone. And every setback is simply building the story you're going to tell one day when you're standing on top of your success. It's not a matter of if you'll make it, it's a matter of when. So keep pushing. Keep failing forward. Because at some point when you least expect it, that one yes is going to come. And it will make all those hard days worth it. You're writing your own story, and trust me, it's going to be one for the books. Now go out there and make it happen. And if this hit you in the gut, if you're sitting there thinking, damn, maybe I really should keep going, then do me a favor. Hit that like button. Not for me, but as a promise to yourself that you won't quit when it gets hard. And if you've ever held yourself back because of fear, of rejection, of judgment, of not being good enough, I've got another video for you. It's all about handling social anxiety and owning your space. Trust me, you'll want to see this one. Click it, and I'll see you there.